Welcome to Your House Matters. I'm John Charbonneau with TMG The Mortgage Group, and joining me is Sarah Thompson. Sarah's the manager of the Strata division of Hub International Coastal Insurance. You represent both sides of the insurance scenario, the Strata Corporation and also condominium owners. And we've got a couple of questions for you. So
Excellent.
Anybody thinking about buying or currently owning a condo will have some value here. So I know that Strata corporations have insurance, but as an owner of an individual condo, do I need to have insurance?
That's a great question, and one we get a lot of the time. So what's important to know is that yes, the Strata Corporation has insurance. They insure based on the Strata Property Act what they're required to insure. So common property, limited common property, as well as they're going to have liability for the Strata Corporation. Now what's important to know is that the unit owner also needs their own insurance to protect their contents. So your clothes, your furniture, any appliances that are removable, but also any fixtures, improvements, and betterments. So if what was original, you've replaced the carpet, the old carpet, and put in new laminate or hardwood flooring, that's now an improvement and something that the unit owner is now required to insure. On top of that, you need personal liability. So the liability that you would need for instance, you're walking down the street with your dog and your dog bites somebody, that person sues you, you need personal liability to protect you for that. So there's that. As well, if your unit, for example, was uninhabitable due to a loss, a fire, a water damage claim, your unit owner policy is going to provide additional living expenses for you to live out of the unit while it's being repaired. So your unit owner policy is going to provide all of those additional coverages that the Strata policy doesn't. And then we'll get into loss assessment coverage. So for example, if the Strata doesn't have enough coverage, so the building wasn't insured to value, and then there's an assessment made back to the unit owner, your unit owner policy is going to cover that assessment, as well as deductibles that may be charged back to the unit owner. So it's very important that the unit owner has their own policy as well that mirrors and works together with the Strata policy.
So there's a possibility that if the building was to burn down, the Strata Corporation doesn't have enough insurance, I might not be covered, so I need to make sure that I've got a little bit of extra insurance to do that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, that and that you could be out of your unit, all your contents are damaged, any of your improvements, the Strata policy is not going to cover your contents, nor are they going to pay for you to live somewhere else.
And it might be a situation where, because it's a big building, it's going to take a lot longer to rebuild that building or fix it compared to a single family home, so the coverage might need to be for longer periods of time. Would that be fair to say?
Absolutely. And it's important to know that there's different limits available for that additional living expenses. Not all unit owner policies are the same, so it's really important to look at the coverage that you're provided under your policy.
Well, so how do I know I've got the right policy for the value that I have? What are the checks and balances that I should be looking at?
So, obviously it's important to ask the right questions, but also to deal with an insurance broker or an insurer that specializes in condo insurance or Strata insurance. And that's something that, we at Hub specialize in. So we have a department that's entirely dedicated to just doing Strata insurance. So we look at what the Strata policy provides for coverage, what the deductibles are and limits, and make sure that you have a condo unit owner policy that mirrors and works together with that policy. Now what's important, if you're insured with a unit owner, that you take a copy of the Strata's policy. That summary of coverage is going to provide the limit of insurance, the deductibles that are laid out under that policy, and then you take that to your broker and say, and ask them the right questions to make sure that you're insured for those deductibles.
So between the two policies, you've got the right amount of coverage.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, what happens in a situation where I own a condo, I'm renting it out? Do I need any different type of insurance, or do I need insurance at all because it's not my stuff that's inside there?
Well, that's a great question, and something that's often a misconception amongst rental units. It's absolutely important that you have a rental policy in place. So a few things. For example, as a rented condo owner, you need to have a different policy in place than just a unit owner policy. You need to let your broker or your insurer know that you're renting the unit out because it's a different coverage. And you are still, even though you're not living there, you still have contents in terms of the washing machine, the fridge, the stove that are in that unit. As well, there may have been betterments made to that that are the responsibility of the condo unit owner, not the tenant. So there's that, the condo, the unit. There's also rental income. So if a loss happened, a fire, a water damage claim, now your unit, your tenants can't live there because it has to be repaired, you're going to lose, those tenants can easily pack up, move somewhere else and start renting. But now you're out that rental income. So a rented condo policy will actually pay you for that rental income that you may have lost.
Oh my goodness.
So you didn't think about that.
Yeah.
On top of that, you've got personal liability that could be incurred as an owner of that condo unit, as well as assessment coverage. So assessments and deductibles. So if your tenant, for example, leaves a pot on the stove or overruns the bathtub, the Strata could charge back a deductible to the unit owner, not necessarily the tenant, and that would be your responsibility to pay that deductible. So your condo unit owner policy would provide coverage for that deductible.
So what happens in a case where maybe I'm living in the condo and I flush the toilet on Friday afternoon as I'm heading away for a camping weekend, and that toilet runs and overflows and there's water flowing through the building and it causes damage. My toilet, my accident caused damage to other units in the building, and there's a $200,000 bill to repair everything. Would my insurance company pay any kind of deductibles on the Strata Corporation's insurance?
That's a great question, and one that we get quite frequently when it comes to deductibles and who pays and who's responsible. So the first thing to know is that if you have your unit owner policy, they're going to take care of what you're responsible for. So the damage to your unit, your contents, that type of thing. Some of the Strata deductibles for water damage can be quite high. So minimum they're around $5,000 to $10,000, depending on if it's a frame building or a high rise. But those deductibles can go up from there. So they could be as high as $20, $50. There's some buildings in Vancouver that have $100,000 water deductible damage.
So if I don't have the right insurance, I might be liable for that myself.
Absolutely. So that's why it's important to take that piece of paper to your broker to make sure that you've got deductible assessment coverage that's going to cover that $100,000 deductible or $20,000 deductible. So what would happen in the scenario that you gave? So the loss originates from your unit. You're responsible for that loss. The Strata can charge back the deductible, so if it's $5,000 or $10,000 to you, the unit owner that the loss originated in. So your unit owner policy would pay for that deductible. And then the Strata's going to repair, the Strata's insurance will pay to repair what was common property and anything over the deductible amount.
So it sounds like I've got a good understanding of the kind of insurance I need. How do I make sure that the Strata Corporation itself, where I'm living, has the right insurance when married up with mine? Because there's all sorts of different coverage. How do I check to make sure that they have the right coverage?
It's important when you're buying into a new condo that you take a look and you ask to look at the Strata's insurance. One thing you're looking for is the limit of insurance. So you want to make sure that the Strata has replacement cost for the value of the building. Now, you're not an appraisal company, but speaking of appraisals, it's really important that the Strata get an appraisal on a yearly basis to make sure that they're keeping up with the rising costs of construction. Because you can get put into a co-insurance situation if the building isn't insured properly. Now, there's also obviously specialized brokers like ourselves that put together a Strata insurance package that mirrors what the Strata Property Act requirements are, as well as make sure that we're on the leading edge of any changes to the industry. So it's important that not only is the insurance to value, but also that you have the right protection and to look for specialized coverage with a Strata broker.
Beautiful. Lots of things that I think many condo owners take for granted when it comes to insurance. There's so many documents to be looking at. Very important that you come and see someone like Sarah and Hub International. Make sure you are completely covered, because you do not want to be without the coverage, because it's the law of inevitability. It will eventually catch up to you. So, Sarah, thanks for coming in.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.